The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to this chilly morning. Even here in Florida, for us, when it's in the high 40s, we're like parka weather. We want to welcome our national audience. We have got an incredible show for you today. I always give out my phone number because our producer has got so much to do, and I almost feel guilty when I give out the studio number. So I try not to give her any extra work to do. She does such an incredible job. And I've already received 6 texts this morning wanting to know if Dr. Eldred Taylor was going to be on with us today. Actually, this show is the only show of the 50 shows that we do a live show at the beginning of the month. It's always the first Wednesday, and then we replay it every Wednesday. And it's just that important of a show. Let me introduce you to our guest who just got back from Egypt. Good morning, Dr. Taylor.
Hey, how are you doing?
There you are. Well, you know what? We've been waiting for this show. We've been waiting for you to get back to do this live show. Dr. Taylor, what's so amazing, I think, about you is there's a lot of big talkers out there. And by the way, Dr. Taylor is an MD out of the Atlanta area, but we run his show on a national basis because he does do telemedicine. And you actually walk the walk. What you preach to your patients, you actually do yourself, even if it means growing your own garden for natural foods. I mean, you do it all.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
anti-aging is very important to you.
Yeah.
And you and your wife just got back from Egypt, and we're going to be showing pictures during the show. But
Yeah.
I'm going to sit back and listen to you talk about your trip.
Yeah. Well, the reason why we went, I'm trying to craft the next chapter of my life. I won't say the last chapter, so because I might do something else. Okay. So in that last chapter, we wanted to talk about longevity because I've kind of grown old with my patients. I did OB when I was young. I did GYN as I got older. And then when I wanted to get out of that rat race, I started doing more holistic functional medicine. And so now I'm going to be 65 this year in 2025. And people were asking me when I was going to retire. And I said, you've got to be kidding me. I know more now. I have more wisdom. I have more experience. I have more everything now. Why in the world would I even think about retiring? So I started looking at longevity. And just like when I started looking at hormones, I went back to the beginning. So when I'm talking about longevity, I want to go back to the beginning. What was the beginning of civilization? And it was in Egypt. And we have this misconception that we're so advanced that these people, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 years ago were these Neanderthals that just, had their knuckles, rubbing the ground. These people were more advanced than we could even imagine. And when you see these pictures, You're going to see what I'm saying. And it's not, it's almost hard for me to even describe. Now, I think you asked me, what was I going over there for? Am I going over there for a medical mission or whatever? And I told you, I don't know. Well, let me tell you this. I wanted to end with this, but I want to start with this because this guy right here taught me more about life than anybody I've met. Okay, so this is
your guide.
Beg your pardon?
Was he your guide over there?
No. Let me tell you how we met him. Okay, so we were in a place in Jordan. I didn't even know we were going to Jordan. That's next to Egypt, and we were in a place called Petra. And Petra is this lost civilization that was buried in these rocks. And I'll show you some of those, I think. But this guy lives in the desert. Okay. His family has lived in the desert for 500 years. They live in a cave in the desert. Okay. His family has lived there for 500 years. His grandmother just passed away. She was 120.
Wow.
Okay. So we were touring around. No, we were going in this Petra. It's this huge place in the desert. And this guy, one of the temples that we were going in, and I'll show you some of those, I think. He was one of the people, they like hang around there and ask, do you want a picture taken? And then they want you to give them a tip. So we had said no to all these people. They said, just ignore them, just keep going, But this guy, for some reason, we sat and listened to him. Okay, and he took a picture of us, and I tried to give him some money, and he said, no, you're in my home. You're a guest in my home in this desert. And he said, he said, but I'll show you around. So he showed us around. He was telling us about how he has a mule and how he takes care of his animals and how he's so happy. He doesn't want to go anywhere, because this is what I learned over there is that everybody in the world, they want harmony, they want peace, and they want balance. Okay. So this guy is in harmony with nature. His life is balanced. He's not worried about,
No
the
stress.
stock market. He's not worried about Ukraine. He has no idea. Okay. But he lives life. I'm telling you, I left there. We sat and talked with him. He walked us around for 2 hours. We sat and had tea with him. He was the most interesting man in the world. Okay,
Wow.
You're talking about Dos Equis and all that stuff. This guy, listening to him, totally transformed how I think about life. Is that I think I have to have a big house and cars and all that stuff to be happy. I guarantee you that guy is happier than 90% of the people in the world.
He has no idea what stress is.
Has none. And his grandmother didn't. And so it's about balance. And that's what I talk about with hormones and stress and all this stuff. You need to be in balance. You need to be in harmony with your environment, whether it's a cave, whether it's in your home, whether it's at work. You need to be in harmony. And that gives you peace. That's what everybody wants. People, they want peace. In Jordan, I was across the Dead Sea from Palestine. Do you know what those Palestinians want? They want peace. This is going to his home. This is his home. This is Petra. Okay.
Wow.
And it's this, you see, this is my wife. You see how small she is. Those are how big those rocks are. And it's 1.5 miles. You walk through these rocks. And let's look at some more pictures.
How do they survive, Dr. Taylor? Like, how do they get just water?
Oh, I'll show you that. They have these troughs that water goes down, and they live off the land. I mean, there's some things that they grow there. They kill, I don't know. Okay. This is like Valley of the Kings. This is built into those rocks. So it's not like it's a freestanding. If you go in there, that's built into rocks. You see how small my wife looks?
Wow.
See those people in the background? See how small they are? They built that 5,000 years ago. We can't build that now. And okay. And the pyramids, when you see the great pyramids of Giza, the stones all weigh 2,000 tons. 2,000 tons. And those rocks were brought from Aswan. It wasn't like they just dug them up out of the ground right there. They were brought from 200 miles away down the Nile. How did they do that 5,000 to 6,000 years ago? You see, these are temples that they made to their pharaohs and whatever. But you see, this is just the head of a broken statue that they had. That's all they have. But that's just the size. See how that? And just imagine a whole statue with that size of a head.
Wow.
It's amazing stuff. You can go through some more. That's a temple. It's called Didandra Temple. But you go through all that, and that's just one row. It's about 15 rows of columns that wide, and every inch of it has hieroglyphics on it. I think I'm going to show you some of that in a minute. So on the outside, there was hieroglyphics. Again, that's my wife, and you see how big that
How
building
large
is.
it is.
It's like a 10, 20-story building. How did they build that if they didn't have cranes? How did they sculpt that? And you see on the sides there, those are hieroglyphics. There's hieroglyphics everywhere. That is how they told their story with symbols, because words couldn't describe how they lived. And so all of those hieroglyphics, and that's what the Rosetta Stone and the Dead Sea Scrolls, from them discovering that, they were able to decipher the hieroglyphics. And we can talk about that as another. So that's an obelisk. That's that's how they try to reach the stars, is through these tall phallic type symbols, and it's all about male, female. It's such an interesting situation. Oh, this is we're at the Dead Sea. This is me. This is my little fun picture. In the Dead Sea, you can float. I usually can't float because the Dead Sea has so much salt in it. It increases your buoyancy. So you can lay down. Now, my wife actually went in the Dead Sea. I didn't have time, but that's me floating. So you just lay there. You can't drown in it. You just sit there, and yeah, there's no. I usually can't float if I'm in the regular ocean. So that was in the spa in Jordan, and I'll tell you, my wife, we didn't do this. We didn't rough it over there. I mean, there are nice hotels. This is a hotel, and this is a resort in Jordan. This is the intricacy of their hieroglyphics. This is a tomb, and one of the mummies in there, they brought that tomb out, and it's in some museum, I think in London or whatever. But this is what these tombs were in, these beautiful hieroglyphic tombs. And it's just amazing what they could do, what they could sketch out, what they could paint. And that paint is like they painted it yesterday. It's an incredible, and I'll tell you another thing that it makes you realize how insignificant you are in this world. When you see your little speck and these big buildings and people who lived 5,000-10,000 years ago and what they were able to accomplish, it really puts into perspective who you think you are. I mean, we think we're so advanced, and maybe we are. But these people had something to offer us too. And I'm going to tell you where they really had something to offer us is understanding nature. This is the desert in Petra. And you see those bubbles? We stayed in one of those bubbles at night. And at night, you can open it up and you can see the stars. And because there's no lights out there, the stars look like the sky looks like it has 10 million stars. This is also where they filmed the movie Mars, because when you look out there, the whole desert is red, the rocks are red, and it looks like, and those bubbles look like you're on Mars. And I think they built this scenario here, and then they just started letting people come and live there, and stay there overnight. It was cold as the dickens there, but it was beautiful. The inside that bubble is beautiful. So yeah, my wife, she doesn't rough it. We said we were glamping. So we were staying at the Ritz. And
what is their diet like?
They eat a lot of lamb. I thought they would be more vegetarian, but they're not. They eat a lot of eggplant. They make a lot of hummus, but they eat lamb, they eat chicken. My dad in Egypt, he loved barbecue. And he wanted to lose some weight, so we were talking about he's got to decrease the meat and all that stuff. And they eat a lot of meat, but they do eat vegetables. Eggplant, they have a lot of eggplant hummus and dips, and eggplant seems to be a biggie. But in the Nile, you can grow anything. They're really big on olive trees and olive oil. But the Nile is so fertile, you can grow anything. That the soil is so black. Uh, Egypt was originally called Kemet, and Kemet means black soil. So the soil is so rich, and that's kind of what some people think is the real Garden of Eden, is along the Nile, because that's where civilization started. And the way the Nile runs is one of the only rivers that run from south to north. And it made it. And so that's a whole history lesson. But I would encourage anybody to go see and learn about ancient Egypt. The way they understood the stars and how astrology works. I mean, they spent thousands of years studying nature, and they came up with a lot of what we call universal laws. This is how nature works. This is how life is. And you can learn a lot from those hieroglyphics. You learn a lot about spirituality and religion also. Where did spirituality start? How was it kind of manipulated with different religions so that it would fit whatever that civilization needed? And that's a long, long story. So anyway, just like when I rebelled against conventional medicine, I wanted to go back and see, all right, where were the original documents? Okay, because whenever you have something with time, it gets distorted. It's just, whatever it is. Everybody's story gets distorted with time. So I wanted to go back to the original, because they came up with a lot of the medicines. They came up with a lot. And Ivan Pavlov, who did the Pavlov experiment about, ring the bell, the dog will go eat, ring the bell, and he'll start salivating even though there's no food. Well, Ivan Pavlov also said, if you want new ideas, read old books. So if you want new ideas, you need to read old things, and you will come up with a new concept of what that old book is talking about. And so I'm using some of the concepts that I've learned from ancient Egypt to understand that everything changes. Nothing stays the same. Those guys had this great civilization, and it's all wiped away. And with longevity, I'm telling people, you have to be prepared for what's coming. Okay. So there's no need of wanting to live 20 more years when you're not prepared for what's going to happen in 20 years. And you got to prepare now for what's going to happen in 20 years. And so I told you I've taken a longevity course. I'm also taking an AI accelerator course. I'm going to accelerate my knowledge in AI, because everything is going to be changed by AI. Medicine and the way I practice is going to change. The way everything is going to change because of AI. And if you're not ready for it, you're going to live 20 years longer, but you're going to be miserable, because you're going to be a dinosaur in this new age. And things are changing so fast. The guy who in this program I'm in, he said, you have to be able to learn things quickly in order to have value in this economy, because whatever you're doing now, it's going to be obsolete in 4 or 5 years. And you better be able to learn something.
4 or 5 years?
Yeah, it's going to be obsolete.
Wow.
So, because you see how, you just think, my kids can't understand that. Well, they actually remember when there was no cell phones. My kids didn't grow up on cell phones. Okay, I didn't have to worry about that. But just think how much things have changed in 10 years or in 15 years. The iPhone's only been out since 2007. And now everybody thinks it's been around forever. But
Yes.
when you listen to these AI, they're saying that these AI agents are going to take the place of cell phones. So if you got a business that's focused on cell phones, in 5-10 years from now, they may be obsolete. So they're saying, hey, you need to know what's coming, and you need to prepare, and you need to be able to learn whatever you need to learn to do that. And so, I tell you, I'm going to be 65 this year. And I'm taking the model of Colonel Sanders, who started Kentucky Fried Chicken when he was 65, and that was his biggest
I
accomplishment.
didn't know that's when he started.
Yeah, yeah. He started that. And if I'm not mistaken, it was somewhere in 50s, 60s. That's why his pictures look like he's old,
Right.
Yeah. So I'm taking that viewpoint, is that I'm looking at this may be my biggest accomplishment, and we wrote those two books, Are Your Hormones Making You Sick and The Stress Connection. We wrote one in like 1998, and we wrote the other one like 2002. And I remember how I felt when I said, I got to write these books. Okay. My wife and I both, we're going to write these books. And so we learned, we digested information, and we put it in a book. And I haven't felt that excited in a long time. This is something I got to do. But I'm back at that point. And I'm happy that at 65 or almost 65, I have something that I'm excited about, that I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning so I can start doing it. That's how I did it when we were writing those books. I got up early. I thought about it all the time. I talked about it all the time. And that's where I am now is, and I'm so excited. I gotta say, let me go back. So in these 3 weeks when we were there, we decided that, hey, we were just going to talk to anybody. So if somebody beside us, we struck up a conversation, and we met some great people. I still got their contact information, but here's what I found is that when they found out what my wife and I do and did, they were so interested. They were like, how can we contact you? Can you see me? And what that made me realize is, and I appreciate that you put me on a national level, is that people need to hear this. And
Yes.
I want to use AI or whatever, is just so people can be open to hearing a different way of living, a different way of healthcare, a different way of just, like I say, experiencing life. And again, in the 30 years I've been practicing, I got to realize that I have learned and experienced a lot of things that can help patients. And even my patients are saying, you need to put this on a broader scale. I got a sister who's in San Francisco who needs it. So I'm like, okay, I got to start listening, and I've got to do this. I've got to figure out how I can do this on a larger scale. And that's kind of my focus. And not only just talking about what I've already done, but really learning what I'm going to have to do to be productive when I'm 75, because I don't plan on stopping at 75. I need to know what I need to do to be productive at 85 and 95. So, and that's a mindset that you have
We've
to.
only got about a minute.
Yeah.
I've got to ask you this.
Okay.
Did you bring back anything about healing that you learned over there?
Hey, okay. So they have these different, I won't say gods, but they have these different symbols that mean certain things. Okay. So there are like the key of life. You ever seen that, the Ankh? So those are things that they believe enhanced your life. Okay. So you talk about bringing things about healing. This is what I'll tell you is the most healing, is what Rami told us, is that get your life in balance, get in harmony with your environment, wherever that is, and you're going to have peace. And peace passes all understanding. When you're at peace, your body's in balance, you're in harmony. That's the best healing you can have. The reason why we have disease, because we are not at ease. We are not at peace. Okay.
That's correct.
And so I'm telling you, the lesson I learned was from Remy, that guy who, and in that picture, if you pull that back up, he almost looks like some biblical person that's showing you the way. He has his arms out like that, like he's telling us the direction to go. And I see that as he's telling us to keep going on this path that we're going on. He's almost, yeah, You see how he doesn't he look like, somebody like a prophet or something? And he's showing us direction. And to me, he's showing me that this is what you need to achieve in life is balance, harmony. And when you're at peace with your environment, you flourish. And again, he doesn't have a bank account, I'm sure, and he lives. Now, I'm telling you, after that 2 hours, I had to give him some money because he enriched my life so much. Now, he said he had somebody who has a phone. We gave him our email. I mean, to me, he is the reason why we went to Egypt. You asked me why I was going, and I told you I don't know. I'm telling you,
You know now.
He is the one. The pyramids were great. All of that stuff I told you was great. But that 2 hours with him, you see, I'm talking about him more than I'm talking about all the other
Exactly. Hey, tell people
Because-
how they can reach you, Dr. Taylor. And,
Okay.
and I think you're going to have your own podcast coming out, which we'll be promoting.
Yeah. So let me tell you about this podcast. What I'm trying to do is I've collected a lot of videos and everything that I've done over the last 20 years. I'm putting those together and almost having like an educational class. And then once you have understood that, then we're going to talk about the future, because we got to get some things corrected now before you even talk about the future. So let's get your life in balance and harmony. And now we can peacefully look at the future. Because if you're sick and run down, you're not interested in the future because you're tired and run down and all. But this is what we found is that once we had people lose weight, now they're thinking more about, hey, I want to live life. I want to do things, but I know we got to go.
Right.
But you can get in touch with me at taylormedicalgroup.net. That's our website. You can call our office at 678-443-4000. And I'm planning on starting the podcast the 1st of February. I'm actually talking with the dean today, and we're going to finalize some things. I just had to come back from this trip to get.
And we'll promote it on the show too.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it. I didn't want to mention it because I appreciate you even introducing me to this mode of communication. And so yeah, I'll. That's all in the plan. I'm planning it, and I hope it'll help a lot of people. That's my goal. I'm not trying to do it as a money-making venture.
That's you know what I always say, if we can just touch one person every show,
yeah,
that's it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Dr. Taylor, we're going to be replaying this show again next week at 10 o'clock Eastern time, next Wednesday, as we do every Wednesday. And we'll see you again next month, Dr. Taylor. Tell your wife Happy New Year for us. And
okay, great.
We love you.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dr. Taylor.
All right. Bye-bye.
It's Dr. Eldred Taylor. So we're going to go to a quick break. We'll be right back.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.